Hi everyone, trust you all are doing well. Many of you requested that we do a video on how to upload files with Laravel Livewire. Now in this case, what I've done is I created a component called post create so that we can actually create a post, but this whole form is being processed by Livewire. Right, so let's quickly upload an image. So in this case, we click an image. As you can see, we get uploading a file, and then we have a little preview of that file. Okay, and then if we create, let's say, I'm just going to put something simple, a title right there, and if we create a post, you can see we get validation as well. So let me just quickly add some more, just like that, and then so we create. As you can see, post created right there. Okay, so that's what we're going to be building in this episode. So let's get started. Right, so the first thing, the Laravel version that I'm using is 8.73.2. The Livewire version is 2.5. The SweetAlert version is 11.2 for those that want to know for this kind of information. All right, there's just something I quickly want to show you. I want to show you my post model. So under AMP, HTTP models right here, I just want to show you guys my post model. You can obviously add as many things as you want. I just wanted to show for those that want to know what this looks like. So I got my table, my post table that I sent to the post table. The fillable is just the title and the image, and I just created methods that returns the properties like the ID, title, and image. Right, so let's quickly go to the migration file. The next one is database migrations, post migrations. Right, and you will see I just have the title and I just set the image to a nullable field and I migrate the database. All right, so let's quickly open our terminal and actually create our Livewire component. All right, so what we're going to do is PHP artisan make a Livewire, and we're going to call this one in a post folder, this one, and we're just going to call it create. Right, then you press enter. Now we created our Livewire component. I've already started this, so I'm not going to start it again. All right, so just press no. So as you can see, it created a class and it created a view for us. All right, so let's quickly go there. Under app, HTTP, Livewire, you will see we have a post folder. Inside that, we have a create. Let's quickly open the view. The view is actually quite easy. If you go to resources, views, and you will see there's a Livewire folder, and inside that is that post folder with the create right there. Okay, so this is the one right here. So let's quickly create also the route. So let's just quickly open up our route. So under web routes, okay, right here, what we're going to do is we got a route group with a middleware of auth because I want the person to be authenticated, a prefix of post, and a route name as post dot whatever I'm going to create. All right, so then I just reference that create class, this one. As you can see, I'm bringing it in right there. So / create. So it basically will be post create, and then the create class and the name is post.create right there. Okay, that's all. Right, now let's quickly close this off. Now the thing is what I'm going to be working on. Let's start off with our class first. Now if you're going to use file uploads, you need to kind of make use of a trait in Livewire called use and with file uploads. Quite easy. All right, so we bring in that in, and if we go to that file, basically that trait, you will see it's kind of have a lot of helpful methods for us. Right, so if you want to go read more, you can do that. Right, the next thing is we need to create public properties. So right, so the first one that will be for the image. Right, so if you guys have more fields, all right, just add them in here. So the next one, this one will be for the title, and the next one will be public image ID. Now this will be useful in a second, but I just want to let us create it. By default, I'm just going to set it to 1. Okay, so let's quickly go. The next one will be the rules. All right, so this is for the validation that we're going to do. So protected the rules. And we're going to set the rules to the image. Okay, so let's start off with the image. Now the image, I want this field to be required. So whenever we create a post, I want that field to be required. Okay, so let's do a required field. The next one, it must be obviously an image, and the max size. So you can choose whatever you want to do. I'm just using this as an example. So 2048. Right, and let's move on to the next one, the title. And this will be, what can we do? We can just say just required. You can obviously add as many other requirements as you want, like maximum, minimum, whatever the case might be. All right, so I'm just going to make it required. All right, so the next field, this will be the part that's actually responsible for saving the image for the post, actually. So let's quickly create that. And this one will be this, I'm just going to call it a save method. And then what we want to do is we want to call this validate. Validate. All right, just like that, you don't need to add any parameters since we already have the rules. So when we call on this, it will automatically check the rules right there. All right, so the next thing is I'm just going to bring in my post model, and I'm going to call a create method on it, a static create. Okay, now in here, I'm just going to get the image. All right, and the image is going to equal to this image. All right, the property that we just created right there, I'm just going to call in that. So this image, and what we want to do is we want to call a store method on it. All right, now the store, this comes with Laravel. All right, so if we call in the store, all right, so that we can add the parameters and options in it. Now what we want to do is we want to create an images folder, all right, and we want to store it inside the public folder. Just like that. Okay, so we want to create, basically store it in the images folder. So basically what the store will do, it will create a unique ID for whatever image we're going to create. Then it's going to save it inside the images folder, and the option that we want to, it must be go under the public inside our store. All right, to kind of make the point a little bit clearer, let's quickly go to in the storage folder under app. You will see it looks for the public folder. So this one right here is going to look for the public. Inside that, we're going to have the images right here. So this is what this is referring to. Store inside images in public. So basically under storage, app, public, images. And this images folder will basically go to our public folder. Under storage, you will see it will be images right there. Awesome stuff. All right, so that's what we're going to do right there. So the next thing is this will be the title. So the title, and we're just going to set the title to be this title. Okay, awesome stuff. Now the next part that we want to do is I'm going to dispatch a browser event just for the SweetAlert. So what we're going to do, so this dispatch browser event. And we can listen for a created event or whatever the case may be. Let's just call it created to be short and sweet. And what we want to do now is we want to pass parameters to the browser. So I'm just going to just say the title, and we're going to set this to post created. And you can say whatever you want in here. So the icon. So I'll obviously leave a link for you guys in the description if you want to go and read a little bit more about the SweetAlert. So I'm just going to say the success, and obviously the icon color. Now for SweetAlert, what we can do is you don't have to type in a specific color like green or whatever the case might be. You can actually use hexadecimal coloring in there. All right, so what we can do, 66A103, it's a nice little lime green color. Right, so the next thing is if we move a little bit down, and then we can just say this reset. Okay, so there's other couple of things that I still want to create as well inside our class, but I just want to show you this is what you would normally do. But there's extra helpful things that you can do, because this is where the image ID is going to come from, but you will see in a second. So let's quickly use this. Now let's go to our create view right here, and let's quickly create our form for our component. Right, let's start off with the first one. This is going to be the slot, and this is going to be for the header. I'm just using the same slot that we would use for JetStream. So I'm just going to add the header in here. So where this is coming from, so let's quickly go to our layout. So under resources, views, layouts right here, the app layout, you will see it's got a header slot right there, and I'm referring to the slot. Okay. So just like that. All right, so I'm just going to create an H2. Okay, so let's do that. And in here, I'm just going to call this one post create. So just say post create, just like that. And I'm just going to give it some styling. All right, so what I'm going to do now is let's just create a div with a padding Y of 12. And in here, I'm just going to create a div with MX Auto. So what that does, it just gives it margin left and right to auto. So just to kind of center it, I'm just going to give it a max width of 7XL. And that's it, just like that. Now, the next thing that we need to do in here is we're going to give it a padding of 4 and an overflow of hidden. And then we're just going to give it a background of white with a shadow. Let's just put a shadow in there, just like that. All right, now this part is going to be for the image preview. So this is where we're going to give, let's just put it like image preview. Okay. All right, so we're going to check if this image, so basically if the image is available, if it's there, okay, then we're just going to do an end if actually. Just put an end if right there. Now, if the image is available, I'm just going to give it a max width, let's say of 60. Yeah, let's give it a max width of 60. And in here, I'm just going to put the image. All right. And the source is just going to go to the image. Just remember, I'm referring to this image right here. Okay. So we can check. Then we're going to check the image, and we're just going to go to the temporary. This comes with the file uploads of Laravel Livewire. Okay, so temporary URL right there. So I'm not going to add the alt right here. Okay, so basically what will happen now, if we have the image, okay, then we're just going to get the image, and we just want to get the temporary URL of that image, just to kind of give us a preview of what we're trying to upload. Okay, now let's move on. Now the next part that we want to do in here is we just want to create a form. Okay, so let's just do a form. We're not going to have an action because we're going to call on this save method right here that we're calling on. Okay, so let's just quickly move this down, and I'm just going to do a wire submit. Okay, and I just want to prevent the default behavior. Okay, so I don't want the form to submit. If we press the submit button, I want to call on the save method that we created. Okay, and I'm just going to give this one a class of space y. Let's say of 6. Right, so now inside this form, we're going to create a div. So I'm just the first one. This will be the cover image. Okay, so let's create a div. For that, I'm just going to leave the class open in case I want to use it. And I'm just going to use the xjet in label. Let's start off with the first one. All right. All right, so let's quickly do that again. So xjet label. All right, I'm just going to type them out. Okay, and then you guys can just copy. Otherwise, the videos will be really too long. So let me just quickly do that. Right, so what I have in here is I've got an xjet label for the image. The value is the cover image. That's basically the title for that. The x input, then the wire model right here. All right, so what we can do, then the image right here is referring to this image right here, the wire model. And then the ID is just image, and the class, there's just some styling in there. And this must be a type of file. Okay, because we're uploading an image, and then we just have an input error for the image as well. So the next thing right here, this will be for the title, and I'm just going to do the same thing and just put it in there. Okay. Right, so we just got a title and a wire model bind. to the title, and the title is just this one right here. We're going to get to the image ID in a second, but just bear with me. All right, so the next one is just XJet button, and I'm just going to call this one create post. Let me just do it like this. I like to add the localization just out of habit, so I'm just going to say create post, just like that. Okay, now let's quickly see if we can view the form. All right, so basically this is what we have right now. So if we choose an image right there, we don't get a loading indicator, and we cannot, let's say we don't want to have this image. You can obviously choose, click the browse again and choose another image. Okay, that's one way. But what we want to do is we just want to have a little close button right there, so that people don't want that button to be there, and they just want to click it right there so that they can basically reset the input field. Right. So the other thing is, let's say we create a post quickly. Let's just say title, just type in some things. Let's say we quickly create a post. Now the thing is, after we created the post, you can still see in the input field right here, it still shows the path to that image, the image that we selected, and that we don't want to have. So I want to remove that automatically as soon as we create a post as well. So that's what I'm going to do now. All right, so let's start off with the first part right here. So this is to kind of let us know if when we upload the image, to kind of say like we uploading the image. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to create a div in here, and within that cover image div right there. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm just want to remove the class quickly. So I'm just going to say wire loading. All right, so while it's loading, and the wire target. All right, and we want to target the image. Okay, so let me just quickly do this, the image right there. So if we upload the image, I just want to create a span tag in here with a class of text, let's say just green, or let's say 600, just like that. Okay, and then what I want to say is I'm just saying uploading image. Okay, and just like this. Okay, so let's see if this works. All right, so let's click on this while loading again. So if I click it, as you can see, uploading image, then the image displayed. Now the next thing is I want to add a close button right there. So if I click this, this image needs to disappear. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm just going to make the image div like here. I'm just going to make it relative. Okay, and I just want to give it a padding right of, let's say, 6. Okay, then inside this, I want to create another div, absolute. Okay, absolute. I'm just going to give it the position of top 0 and right 0, just like that. All right, and I'm just going to create an anchor tag just like this, or you can do whatever you want to do with it, but you don't need it to be an anchor tag. But since I'm going to click it, just my mind just kind of makes it anchor tag more logical to do that. So font bond, and I'm just going to do a cursor or pointer so it can actually be a pointer. Right, now in here I'm just going to make an X. All right, you can use ampersand and all that kind of funny stuff. I'm just going to make an X for simplicity, and I'm just going to create a wire click on here. All right, so if we click this button, I'm just going to call a method called cleanup, which I'm going to create right now, but as you can see right here, so I'm just going to call it cleanup. All right. All right, so let's quickly create this method called cleanup inside here. All right, so let's quickly go in here. So I'm just going to create a public function. I'm going to call this one clean up like this. All right, and then what we want to do is we want to set the image to null. So image, all right, we want to set that to null. All right, so what this will do, if you remember from just a few seconds ago, when we upload the image, let me just quickly go back. When we create the image, let's say we created the post, the name still remains. What we do is we set this field to null, so it kind of disappears there, so it doesn't give us any issues. All right, and the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to increment basically that image ID. So we're going to say image ID, and we're just going to say ++, just like that. All right, and now after we save the image, we're going to call this cleanup method. All right, so let's quickly, so when we finish creating the post in the reset, just after that, we just want to say this clean up, just like that. Okay, so what it will do, it will set the image to null and it will just increment the ID. Right now, the ID field is useful right here. So right now, I'm just calling on the cover image input field. Right now, it's set to just image. But what I want to do, I just want to set it to the image ID. All right, so when the image ID changes, this input field changes, so it won't hold the data. Okay, so after we have done that, we need to add basically our SweetAlert right here. So I'm just going to add a push. Okay, so I'm going to push to the scripts stack. Okay, so let me just delete this. Okay, so I'm going to push to the script stack. So let me just quickly open this up. So let me just show you where that is. If we go to the app layout right here, so you'll see I have an X stack for scripts. So I'm pushing to this right here. Okay, so in here, I'm just going to have a script tag, opening and closing, and window dot add event listener. So we're going to listen for an event. So listener, like this, and we're going to listen for that created event that we're firing off. So let me just give it some room here. So right now, I said created, so I'm going to basically pass the post created. And let me just go back to created again, like that. Okay, so I'm going to listen for that created event, and I'm going to fire off a method called with an event parameter right there. And then I'm just going to fire off swal.fire. Okay, and I'm going to fire off a whole lot of things. So let me just quickly do this. All right, now the thing is we're going to get the title, and the title is going to be e.detail.title. Okay, and then we're just going to get the icon. Right, so the title right there, let me just show you where this is coming from. Title is this title, the icon is this one. The icon right there, and the icon color is this one right there. Okay, so right, the video was getting a little bit too long, so what I've already typed it quickly out. So the icon is this, the icon color is that icon color, the timer, the progress bar, we just set it to true, and it must be a toaster in a position where it must be in a confirmation, we just set to false. Okay, so let me just quickly go there again. You see the swal.fire. Let me just quickly show you where that is coming from. So for those that are new to the channel, that's why I'm showing it. Under resources, JS, app.js. All right, we installed SweetAlert, and then we import SweetAlert from SweetAlert right there. And then window.swal, we just set it to this right here. Okay, let's hopefully everything works right now. All right, so now if we click the image, it's uploading the image. As you can see, we got this right here. So what will happen, it will, when we click this, it will call the clean up method that will set the image to null and increment basically the ID. So let's click it. As you can see, it sets the image to null and it will increment the ID. So that's why this field also goes to back to nothing. Right, so let's quickly do this. So uploading the image, so we get the preview. This is a preview. Hopefully everything works. That's fine. We'll just quickly create. As you can see, post creator right there with that color right there. Okay, so that's an end of this episode, guys. If you have any questions, please ask them. And if you have any feedback, please leave it for me in the comment section. And give this video a like if you like it. And if you have any other things, please let me know. And adios.